Texas has stopped using the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The CDC and FDA recommend pausing after 6 women developed a rare and severe blood clot after getting the shot. Eyewitness News reporter Jeremy Baker spoke with several medical outlets who gave out the vaccine about how concerning this may be for those of you who have received it.
The consensus is pausing this one vaccine out of caution. 6.8 million doses of the J&J vaccine have been given in the U.S., and with only 6 reported cases, the odds are literally 1 in a million.
Those individuals were between the ages of 18 and 48 years old. They were all female. Based on the concerns of possible link, very rare blood clots to this vaccine, administration of the vaccine is going to be temporarily halted while it's investigated further.
Dr. Michael Almali from WellMed says the frequency of these blood clots in non-vaccinated individuals could be as high as 15 per million per year, according to research from the American Heart Association.
These can occur spontaneously or associated with other conditions. Based on that fact, that's why we don't know for sure whether or not there's a clear causal relationship or not.
And that's why WellMed will only be offering Moderna for the time being out of caution while this is being investigated. Christus Health has given out the J&J vaccine and said Christus Health has immediately paused any administration of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine as we await further guidance. If it becomes necessary, we do have a number of other vaccinations, Moderna and Pfizer, that can be offered to those scheduled to get a Johnson & Johnson vaccine from a Christus provider. Metro Health says a total of 45,800 doses of J&J vaccines have been allocated to Bexar County since March 8th. As of today, an estimated 25,512 Bexar County residents have been administered the J&J vaccine, compared to over 600,000 people in Bexar County who have received either Pfizer or Moderna. WellMed also says people who got the J&J vaccine who develop leg pain, abdominal pain, shortness of breath, or a severe headache within 3 weeks of vaccination should contact their healthcare provider. Jeremy Baker, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.